Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Case Files Behind Closed Doors. So, I put an episode of this out last week or the week before, and you guys seem to quite enjoy it, and you're into the case. So, we will carry on with solving it from here on out. We'll make this into a full series. If you did miss that first video, we are investigating the murder of Daniel Murphy. In the first video, we interviewed his girlfriend and heard what she had to say about it. So, if you've missed that episode, go and check that out so you'll be all caught up. For the rest of us, we are going to be interviewing Charles today, or at least at the beginning of this episode. I've got my pen and paper ready. There is actually a handy little notebook that I've discovered inside the game, but it kind of just comes onto the screen and you just sort of jot it away and it just goes up and down the screen. So I think I'm going to stick with my pen and paper because I can quickly move between things as I need to. I've also noticed there is, if you press the tab feature, we've got quite a lot of evidence as well that we can... There's no evidence needed at this time, so when we need to submit some evidence, we can come here and submit the evidence we need, because we've not really looked at that, have we? But we are going to be interviewing Charles. Charles is Emma, which is Daniel's girlfriend. It's her ex-husband, I believe. So let's get into this interview and find out what he has to say.
All right, Charles, we are recording. Today is September 19th. I am Detective Martin Ruiz, badge number 7621. And with me here is Charles Humphreys. So Charles, we'll just start with you spelling your first and last name for me.
Okay. CharlesHumphries.
And can you please acknowledge that this statement is being video and audio recorded and that you are consenting to this recording?
Yes, I do.
And lastly, if you can please acknowledge that we have already gone over your rights and that you are willfully making this statement.
Yes, I do.
All right, thank you, Charles. So, Charles, let's just start with you telling me, why were you seen entering Daniel's house the day of his death?
Well, I was doing a favor for Emma, right? I went there to pick up some items that she had forgotten, right? She didn't want to enter that house again, so I went there for her.
And what sort of items were you picking up?
It was like some clothing and other personal items, right? I didn't sort through the bag, so I'm not 100% sure what may have been in it.
So you said bag, so you were there to pick up a bag of hers, is that right?
Correct, right. She put it by the front door in the entryway. I walked in, I grabbed the bag, and I left.
And Charles, you're a realtor, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So that means you get to pretty much set your own hours, right?
To an extent, sure.
Now, you didn't have any appointments or any meetings that morning?
That is correct.
So, did you see Daniel when you went inside the house?
No, I didn't. I didn't see his car in the driveway either, so I just assumed he wasn't home. But look, I didn't even go in the house. I just went in the entryway, I grabbed Emma's bag, and I left. That's it.
Now, are you aware that Daniel had been killed on that day and that his body was found inside that house?
I'm aware of it now, but at the time, no. I wasn't aware of it at the time.
So what do you know about Daniel's death?
I know that he was apparently shot and killed. I'm also aware it possibly could have been a suicide, that he took his own life.
Do you believe that? Do you believe that he took his own life?
Certainly seems like a possibility, yeah.
So how well did you actually know Daniel?
Not well at all. I mean, I mostly knew about him through Rebecca. Right? I only personally met him a few times. A few times that I did meet him in person, I mean, he seemed like a pretty cool guy, right? He was friendly and upbeat, just a good all-around guy. It wasn't until much later that I learned about him abusing Emma. Needless to say, that changed my opinion of him real quick.
Yeah, I could imagine. So tell me about Emma. What is your relationship like with Emma?
Emma and I are on pretty good terms, all things considered. Right? Like, we were married for almost 20 years. We had Rebecca. Everything was going really well. But, I mean, slowly things just didn't work out like we had hoped. So we got divorced about 2 years ago. I mean, it wasn't an ugly divorce or anything like that. But we both agreed that it wasn't working out. So we decided to call it quits. Right? And here we are.
So do you still stay in touch with her?
It's not like we're best friends or anything like that, but we have a daughter together. So, yeah, we are in touch from time to time.
And do you still care for her?
Not in a romantic way, no, but as a person and the mother of my child, yes, absolutely do care about her.
So would you be willing to do anything for her?
What, like murder?
Yes, Charles, like murder.
No, of course not. Look, I would be willing to do almost anything for her because I still care about her. But murder, no, absolutely not.
So you're telling me that you did not kill Daniel when you went inside that house?
No, of course not. Look, I told you I didn't even see the guy, but if I did, I'm not going to kill him.
So what about Emma? You think that maybe Emma killed Daniel? I mean, she's got more reasons to kill him than anyone else.
No, Emma didn't kill Daniel. That's ridiculous.
And how can you be so sure about that?
Because she's not a killer. She's like the sweetest person I know.
Well, what if she maybe hired someone or got some help? You don't think that that's possible?
No, I don't think that's possible.
Well, look, Charles, the reality is that somebody killed Daniel, okay? That is a fact. Now, we know that Emma has been on the receiving end of his abuse, all right? Now, that has got to be scary as hell for her. Okay, now, Charles, I'm not saying that Emma killed Daniel, okay? But, Charles, we at least have to entertain the idea that maybe she wanted him dead. Now, I don't think that that's far-fetched at all. Hell, Charles, I have seen people killed for far less, all right? So you don't think that Emma maybe just wanted him dead? You don't think that that's possible?
Look, I have no doubts that she wanted this man out of her life. That's obvious. But to think Emma would wish death upon him or anybody else for that matter? No, I don't believe that. I do not believe that she wanted him dead. No.
You really don't?
No, I really don't.
All right, Charles, we're going to take a short break, all right? Just ask that you sit here for a bit and I'll be right back, all right?
Yeah, no worries.
Well, he seems a very placid sort of character, doesn't he? Keeps his emotions very leveled. Very calm. See what Martin has to say.
All right, we got to hear his take on things. Now, the main thing I'm questioning at the moment is whether or not Emma is capable of either committing this murder or getting someone else to do it. She really does seem like the person that has the most to gain from Daniel's death. But her ex, he doesn't seem to think that she has that in her. I don't know. You think Charles is telling the truth? You think he really believes that Emma isn't capable of going through with murder? Does he really believe that she had absolutely nothing to do with this? Again, we got to be careful with how we judge this. Pushing him in the wrong direction may not get us the info we need. I want to know what you think. I'll proceed based on that. So just give me a call when you know, and we'll go from there. All right? Bye.
Does Charles really believe Emma had nothing to do with the murder? I'm not sure. I'm not so sure. Does he really believe that? But to be honest with you, I'm a bit suspicious of him. Anyway, because I think that he may have done it. Because when I was, before this video, because it had been a few weeks since I did this, so I watched the video back and refreshed my notes. And I did notice in the text chain, is it this one? I think it is this one. Yeah. If we look towards the bottom here, that he sends a message to Emma saying that he needs to talk. I think it's at the bottom of the page somewhere. Need to talk to you. There we go. So, are you at the motel later? So, this is on the 12th. This is on the 9th, sorry. And no, this is on the 12th. We're in America. So, this is on the 12th. Need to talk to you. And he'll be there about 6. That's the day of the murder. So that's an interesting thing. Are you going to be at the motel? Yeah, yeah. Why? Need to talk to you. Stop by whenever. Sounds good to see you. So that's piqued my interest as to maybe he's thinking of doing something. But does he ever tell Emma that he's thinking of doing something? We've also got this security cam footage up here, haven't we? So he said he went to the house to pick things up for us. So let's have a look. What's this? So that looks like Daniel. This is the day before his murder, though. This is the 11th.
Hey, asshole. You like to hit women, huh?
What are you talking about?
Oh, no,
Get your hands off me.
I know what you did, Emma.
Look, I don't know what she told you, but I didn't lay a finger on her.
Oh, shut up and cut that shit. I know what you did. If you ever do that again, I will kill you. I will fucking kill you. Do you understand me? No, whatever. I will hit you. You got that? I will fucking hit you. You want to hit somebody? Hit me. Come on, hit me. That's what I thought, tough guy. Piece of shit.
Okay, well, there goes his mild-mannered attitude to life. So he does have a bit of a, and understandably so. If Daniel's guilty of everything we think he's possibly guilty of, that's a very understandable reaction. However, he does threaten to kill him, which is what he said he would never do in his interview. Here he is again. So this is him possibly picking up the bag. What's he looking for here? Key? Now, he said he never went inside. He only went in the entranceway. Does this count as the entranceway? Okay, he just walks in. Interesting. Oh, he's in the house now. I saw the red door open. So he's in the house on the day of the murder at 9:30, which is before his text chain with Emma. Because that doesn't begin for another hour when he says he needs to talk. Interesting. So he's in here a while then. When does he come out? Couple of minutes. It seems like he's in here longer than just picking up a bag, doesn't it? If the bag was already pre-prepared, he never looked inside it, is what he said. Never looked inside it, he just picked the bag up, it was already set for him. He said it was outside of the house, but we don't know for sure, I guess. But this is longer. If somebody just says, oh yeah, pick the bag up, it's on the side. You just go and pick it up and leave. It'd probably take you about a minute in total, even if you had to go inside. He's been in there like a good 3.5 minutes. He has got the bag though. He has got a bag. Didn't even attempt to lock the door. Not that he had a key, but didn't even attempt to sort of shut it or anything. Just walks out. That's weird. Can we watch that again? Wish you could skip right to the end of the clip just by clicking on it down here. You have to wait for it to fast forward. Okay, we've got no other angles. So he comes out. Can we see anything? Not really. I mean, it looks very calm, again. Certainly looks calmer than most people would if they just killed somebody. But his story's already wrong, so... Can we really believe anything that he's saying at the moment? So he went to the house to pick things up. I guess he did, but he said he found it outside or whatever it was. He didn't go in. That's clearly a lie. He was in the house for 3.5 minutes or so. So that's a lie. We know the text chain he's got going on later on. So says he's got something to tell her. Has he just done something like murder? It's like Daniel was murdered in the bedroom. It'd be nice if we had like a camera of whether his car was outside or not. So that looks like he's been drinking the night before, so he could well have been sleeping in. So 9:30 is, you know, if he's had a heavy night, 9:30 is not outrageous to be still in bed. Did he just walk in and shoot him and then walk out again? Grab the bag and leave? Either way, I doubt now seriously doubt what comes out of Charles's mouth. So does Charles really believe Emma has nothing to do with the murder? You see, I think Charles did it. So I think, yes, he does believe that Emma had nothing to do with the murder, because I think it's all him. At this stage. So do I lean to yes? I don't know. I hate these choices because if you get it wrong, it sends the game in a totally different... Obviously, if we answer yes and he doesn't believe, then it takes it down a whole different arc and we might not get the answers we need to solve the case. So every choice is critical, but does Charles believe Emma had nothing to do with the murder? I think yes, because I think he may have done it. Oh, let's go with it.
Hey. Yeah, I gotta say, I agree with you on this one.
Ooh, I think we
He
got it
does
right.
seem pretty sincere. All right, I'll continue the interview. We'll be back up in just a sec.
He does seem sincere, but I think he's sincere for the wrong reasons. I think he's sincere because he knows more about this than she does. I think he's protecting Emma now. He is my number one suspect based on what we've seen here and his interview. I've got some other clips as well. Are these, they're not really relevant yet though, are they? Who's this?
Emma?
That's
I'm really
Emma
worried about you.
leaving.
Are you leaving him?
This must be Janice then.
Are you alright?
We can talk later. I gotta go.
Are you sure? Did something now just happen?
Look, I said we can talk later. I
Okay,
gotta
so
go.
this is the 11th. So this is the day before.
Oh!
Okay, I got you. You go ahead, I'll get the suitcase.
So at the end of the last video, she said that Daniel had held her and her daughter up at gunpoint or whatever, threatened to kill them both when she was trying to leave. So that kind of reaction coming out of the house makes sense to me. It's about the right sort of time. If you've just been having an argument, somebody's threatening to kill you, that's kind of the reaction I'd expect coming out of the door. So that looks kind of legit. And then, interestingly, the next morning then, 9 o'clock. So this is about half an hour before Charles arrives. So she runs across... I don't know who this is, though. Who is this? I'm assuming it's the neighbor, but I don't know. So the door's locked, though. Oh, there's a key there. I'm assuming this is the neighbor. So Janice is the one who opened the door. Interesting. I mean, we're not really at this stage yet, are we? I suppose we need to interview Janice. But I've not really watched these before. So she's in here a while as well. Interesting. So she could have killed him, and Charles goes in and finds the body, and then that's why he says to Emma, we need to talk. Something's big gone down here. Let's get our stories straight. Make sure we don't get framed. Very interesting. So there's our two main suspects we've seen there. All right, well, let's carry on with Charles's interview rather than skip ahead there. We're taking in a lot of information all at once. Let's take it step by step.
This is a continuation with Charles Humphreys. So, Charles, I do think that you're being honest about Emma, all right? You really don't think she had anything to do with this, and I do believe you.
Well, that's good because that's honestly how I feel. And like I said before, she is not the kind of person to wish death upon anybody. She is by far the most caring person I've ever met.
So, Charles, I hear you, okay? But since you didn't kill Daniel, and if Emma had nothing to do with this, well, then that means there must be somebody else, right? So, do you think that maybe Rebecca may have had some...
No, of course not. This has absolutely nothing to do with Rebecca.
Okay. Well, then I guess that puts us back to square one, then, doesn't it?
I guess so.
All right, well, Charles, that'll do for now, all right? Let's get you out of here for a bit.
Okay.
Okay, he was very, very like, yeah, it's definitely not Rebecca. Which I guess you always would say about your daughter. Even if you knew point blank it was her, you would probably say that anyway. Martin got to say.
All right, that was pretty straightforward, I guess. You know, I didn't want to bring up the neighbor Janice as a suspect to him quite yet. I want to hear from Janice first. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll go get her and we'll get the next round going. Okay, bye.
Sounds good to me. While you do that, he was very, very blunt with that, wasn't he? So let's just rewatch this while that interview builds.
This is a continuation
It's a very quick
with
one.
Charles Humphreys. So, Charles, I do think that you're being honest about Emma, all right? You really don't think she had anything to do with this, and I do believe you.
Well, that's good because that's honestly how I feel. And like I said before, she is not the kind of person to wish death upon anybody. She is by far the most caring person I've ever met.
So, Charles, I hear you, okay? But since you didn't kill Daniel, and if Emma had nothing to do with this, well, then that means there must be somebody else, right? So, do you think that maybe Rebecca may have had some...
No, of course not. This has absolutely nothing to do with Rebecca.
Okay. Well, then I guess that puts us back to square one, then, doesn't it?
I guess so.
All right, well, Charles, that'll do for now, all right? Let's get you out of here for a bit.
Okay.
Okay, seems pretty sure with that, doesn't he? So, get on with Janice then, I guess.
All right, Janice, we are recording. Today is September 19th. I am Detective Martin Ruiz, badge number 7621, and with me here today is Janice Burks. So, Janice, let's please start with you spelling your first and last name for me.
JANICEBURKES.
And can you please acknowledge that this statement is being video and audio recorded and that you are consenting to that recording?
Yes, sir, I do consent.
And lastly, please acknowledge that we have already gone over your rights and that you are willfully making this statement.
Yes, sir, we've already gone over my rights.
Well, thank you, Janice. So let's just start with a little bit of context here. Now, you live next door to Daniel Murphy and his girlfriend Emma Richardson. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And about how long have you lived at that residence?
Oh, I've lived there about 1.5 years, sir.
And prior to that, you had spent some time in prison. Is that right?
Yes, sir, 9 years.
And that was for murder, correct?
Yes, sir.
You mind telling me what happened?
Well, it's not a very complicated story. My husband at the time was very violent, very physical with me, and it had been going on a lot longer than I care to admit. One night, he beat me up pretty bad. Seemed like he was never going to stop. So, I stopped him. That's it.
And how is life treating you these days?
I can't complain, sir. I'm alive. I'm healthy. I got a steady job. Just trying to live life right. God's been good to me.
That's good. That's real good. So what is it that you do for work?
I work collections. I call people who owe money on behalf of various different companies.
And you do this from home?
Yes, sir. That's right.
Now, I don't mean to be rude or judgmental or anything like that, but I'm curious, how is it that you landed in that particular neighborhood? Because it seems like it would be a bit too pricey for someone with a job such as yours. Now, that is assuming that you do live alone.
Oh, yes, sir. I do live alone. That house belonged to my mother. She bought it about 20 years ago. She paid it off early. And when she died about 10 months ago, she left it to me.
Well, thank you for that explanation. That certainly makes sense. Now, I am curious, how well did you know Daniel and Emma?
Oh, I know Emma pretty well. Daniel, not so much. When I moved in about 1.5 years ago, Daniel had already been living there. They're pretty good neighbors. They're quiet. They stick to themselves. No parties or anything like that. I can't remember them ever having anyone over, in fact. Rebecca, their daughter, lives with them. She's pretty quiet too. She sticks to herself. But honestly, in general, the whole neighborhood's pretty quiet, so they're no exception.
So why is it that you got to know Emma more than Daniel?
Well, it seems like Daniel works very long hours, but Emma works 9 to 5, so I see her from time to time when I went on my usual walks, and we'd stop and chat for a bit. She was one of the few people in the neighborhood who didn't look at me funny, you know? I mean, it's a small town, word gets around fast, and I'm pretty sure most of my neighbors knew about my past. They were scared, they kept their distance, but Emma, she treated me like a normal person, and I really appreciated that. And I always felt like I should kind of look out for her too, I guess.
Now, what about Charles? What do you know about him?
Well, who's Charles?
So Charles, that's Charles Humphreys. That is Emma's ex-husband.
Oh, that's right. I don't know much about him. I didn't ever meet him, and I don't remember Emma ever really talking about him. I'm sorry. Unfortunately, I don't know much about him.
So, given your relationship with Emma, I am assuming that you have a good explanation as to why you were seen entering and leaving their house the day that Daniel was killed.
Oh, yes, I do. The mail carrier had accidentally left some of their mail in my mailbox that day. We've had some trouble with porch pirates recently, so I thought I should just take it over. I didn't want to leave it on their doorstep or anything, so Emma had told me about the spare key to use in case of emergencies or whatever, so I just used the spare key. I opened the door, I dropped the mail off in the entryway, and I left.
Now, was Daniel home?
Oh, not to my knowledge. I mean, his car wasn't in the driveway. That's where he usually parks it. And I didn't see him in the house either.
Now, Janice, are you aware that Daniel had been shot and killed and that his body was found in that house?
Yes, officer. I was aware of that. The whole neighborhood was aware of that.
And so you didn't see him or his dead body when you went into that house to drop off that mail?
Oh, no. I mean, like I said, I just went in, dropped the mail off in the entryway, and then I left.
Janice, did you really go into that house to drop off mail?
Yes, officer, I really went into that house to drop off mail.
All right. Well, look, Janice, we are going to take a real short break. I ask that you just sit here for a second. I will be right back, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Okay, well, we've already seen that video clip, and I didn't remember seeing any mail. But we will take another look at it in a second. I have a feeling Martin is about to phone. Indeed he is.
Okay, we've met the neighbor. I'm curious to know what you think about this Janice lady. You buy that story that she entered the house to drop off some mail?
Nope.
Let me know if you think she's lying,
Yes,
and I'll continue based on that.
I do
All
believe
right,
she's lying.
Talk soon.
Let's just confirm that, though, shall we? Let's, so, this is the one, isn't it, I think? Yeah. Okay, you got no mail in your hand there. And who delivers mail like that? oh, I've got the neighbor's mail. Let me run as fast as I can to their door and frantically knock on the door with nothing in my hands. So unless she's stuffed it down her trousers or something, or in her top, there is no mail she's carrying. So yeah, she's not carrying mail, so she's lying. Like 100% she's lying. And she certainly doesn't just drop it in the entranceway if she was carrying it, because you would have done that by now, and then you'd be leaving, wouldn't you? And you'd be locking the door. Because, as she said, nobody was home, so you'd lock the door. Otherwise, porch pirates are the least of your worries, because you'd be leaving your neighbour's front door wide open. And about a minute later or so, out she comes. So, yeah. She's lying. She also said in her interview, though, that she moved in about 1.5 years ago, but she didn't get the house from her mother until 10 months ago when she died. I mean, maybe she moved in sooner.
Have you lived at that residence?
Oh, I've lived there about a year and a half.
She's lived there a year
so-
and a half, yeah?
And prior to that, you had spent some time in prison. Is that right?
Yes, sir. 9 years.
And that was for murder, correct?
Yes, sir.
You mind telling me what happened?
Where does he ask about her earnings?
Seemed like he was never going to
Now, I don't mean to be rude or
Here.
judgmental or anything like that, but I'm curious, how is it that you landed in that particular neighborhood? Because it seems like it would be a bit too pricey for someone with a job such as yours. Now, that is assuming that you do live alone.
Oh, yes, sir, I do live alone. That house belonged to my mother. She bought it about 20 years ago. She paid it off early. And when she died about 10 months ago, she left it to me.
I mean, there's probably nothing to that. It could be as simple as her mother lived somewhere else or had moved into a care home or something like that, so she moved in. Or even at that point, possibly even lived with her mother when she moved in 1.5 years ago. So I've written it down, though, just in case, because you don't take ownership of the house until 10 months ago, but you were living there 1.5 years ago. Maybe there's something there. It's probably nothing to do with anything, but you never know. It's good to take as many notes in as much detail as possible. So what do we think of Janice, then, before we answer Martin?
Well, thank you for that explanation. That certainly makes sense.
She's a bit
Rebecca, their daughter, lives
unusual, but she's been through an
with them.
awful
She's pretty
lot.
quiet, too. She's
You know, if her story is
to
true,
herself.
all the abuse,
But honestly,
it can
in
really change a
general,
person.
Whole
And then the 9
neighborhood's
years in
pretty
prison as well.
quiet, so they're no exception.
You know, a lot of that would
Knew about my past.
probably give you a bit of an
They
edge
were
to your
scared,
character.
They kept their distance. But Emma,
She did
she treated me
seem
like a normal person.
very
and I
protective at
really
this point.
appreciated
I've
that.
written it down. She's
And I
very
always felt
protective
like
over Emma.
I should kind of look out for
There
her
you go.
too.
Kind of look
I
out
guess.
for her.
Now, what about Charles? What
And
do you know
somebody
about
who's
him?
got kind of an edge about them when they're taking care, you know, if they feel that they're attached to somebody, that could lead her to have gone in there and murdered Daniel, couldn't it?
Well, who's
So
Charles?
she's still on my suspect list after
So
this interview.
Charles, that's Charles Humphreys.
I do believe that she doesn't really know much about Charles, because that sort of ties into a lot of it, really. Why would Emma be talking about Charles that much? Ex-husband. He's probably not going to mention him that often. He's not going to pop round that often either. So I can believe that side of it. But is Janice telling the truth about dropping off the mail? No.
Hey, so you don't buy that story, huh? Well, me neither. It's a bit too perfect. And, after reviewing that security footage again, her actions don't seem to match up at all. Let's see if we can find out the real reason she entered that house. I'll get the interviews back up in just a few.
Good idea, Martin. So we'll do this interview and then I think we'll break off. I'm going to keep these sort of between 30 and 40 minutes long, the episodes, just so we can take the information in, write it down, and then move on with the next one. But then we also know if you want to go back to an episode, you think, oh, I want to see an interview from such and such, you can just go back to that episode.
This is a continuation with Janice Burks. Now, Janice, according to you, the mail carrier had dropped off their mail at your mailbox by accident, right? And then you, I guess being the good Samaritan that you are, decided to bypass these potential porch pirates. So you then took that mail and you brought it directly into their home. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So Janice, what kind of mail was this?
If I remember correctly, it was just a few envelopes, I believe.
So just a few envelopes. So why the urgency to drop off just a few envelopes? You couldn't wait until they got home?
I guess I could have. I didn't really give it that much thought. I just saw that I had their mail and I thought I'd bring it over to them, that's all.
Janice, you are lying to me.
What do you mean, sir?
I mean that there is absolutely nothing that supports your statement whatsoever. Look, you having their mail is no reason to go inside of their home. You could have simply just held on to their mail, Janice. And please don't tell me that you were concerned with porch pirates, because porch pirates are looking for packages, okay? Things that have actual value. They're not just looking for regular mail. Now, Janice, if you're going to lie to me, come up with something like like there was a check in the mail or something like that, because then it would be a little bit more believable. Now, Janice, you are still on probation. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, do you think that lying to a detective who is trying to solve a murder case, do you think that is going to be helpful? Look, Janice, that is considered obstruction of justice, okay? Now, you are not a stupid person, okay? You're not. So we are going to try this again. Why were you seen entering their house the day that Daniel was killed?
All right. I heard a gunshot. I rushed over there to see if everything was okay. And when I entered the home, I looked around. That's when I saw Daniel lying there dead in the bedroom. I didn't know what to think, so I panicked and I just left.
So Janice, why did you lie about that?
Come on, sir. I went to prison for 9 years for killing my abusive husband. Then I'm seen leaving and entering a home where a man is killed, a man who is known to have physically abused his girlfriend. How do you think that looks?
Well, not very good, to be honest.
Not very good at all.
All right, so just to make sure that I get this right, so you heard a gunshot, you go enter the house, you see Daniel and he's dead, and you lie to protect yourself. Is that basically it?
Yeah, that's it.
So you're telling me that you did not kill Daniel?
I did not kill Daniel.
So Daniel was already killed when you had entered that house?
Yes,
And Janice, why should I believe you?
because it's the truth.
The truth.
Yes, sir.
All right, we are going to put a pause on this for now, okay, Janice?
Wow. So she heard gunshot then at about 9 a.m. basically, because that's when we had already seen, that's when she entered.
Well, that interview certainly adds a new dimension to this whole thing.
Certainly does.
That is, of course, if Janice is being honest about finding Daniel dead. I honestly don't know. At this point, who knows? All right, I'm going to bring in Rebecca Humphreys, Emma and Charles's kid. Let's see if she can shed any more light on this case. All right, let me go get her. We'll be back up in just a sec. All right, bye.
Take your time. Take your time. Well, that was very, very interesting. I'm not sure whether to believe her or not. I kind of do, to be honest. That bit at the end there. I mean, all of that makes perfect sense. I mean, somebody with her record coming out of a house where somebody's just been murdered with all the things going on around it, that all makes perfect sense. She did leave in a bit of a frantic manner, and that would explain why she was so frantically over here. Look, she's heard a gunshot, bang, 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 because she's probably thinking it's Emma, right? So all of that makes sense. Why is she so frantic? Because you weren't, if you were going in somewhere to kill somebody, purposely go in there to kill somebody, or even to argue with them, you wouldn't do it this frantically. If you were going in there to kill them, you'd probably be more calculated. If you were angry with them, you'd be angry, you'd be shouting, you'd be whatever. But she seems concerned and frantic, as if she has just heard something go down. So I'm kind of leaning towards believing her, to be honest. A little bit weird she shuts the door behind her, though. You just heard a gunshot go off in a house. Why would you shut off your only way of escape? That seems odd to me, but I probably play too many video games. So I'm always thinking about that sort of thing. And then she comes out reasonably calmly, I guess, but shocked. And then leaves. You know what's weird, though? Why don't we have the footage of the gunshot? Because this has got sound. We've got audio recording. Why don't we hear a gunshot? Surely this camera must have picked up a gunshot. Annoyingly, that seems to be missing. But I think I believe her. Have to let me know what you think in the comments. I think we'll leave it there. So in the next episode, then, we will be interviewing Rebecca, which is Charles and Emma's daughter, to see where she was and what she has to say about this whole thing. We have heard about her before in Emma's interview. So we're looking for information basically to stack up or back up what Emma said about her being upstairs at the time of the abuse, and also being in the motel and things like that with Emma after the abuse, and going with her to do the statement and things like that. So hopefully we'll find out more things that will tie all that together. So if you have enjoyed this episode, make sure you leave it a like. Consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, and I will see you for another video very soon.